county functions. So we need to be able to have a timetable or a special schedule to monitor the manner in which this fund is actually bringing up the levels of development in a particular county. Madam Speaker, this should also lead eventually to the determination of changed poverty indices, changed parameters that we are using to determine the equitable share in terms of the nationally collected revenue. So if we don't do this, and I'm throwing a challenge to our Finance and Budget Committee, we must be able to tell Kenyans the value of equalization funds by clearly demonstrating that this is what the equalization fund did in Turkana, and as a result of deploying these funds for 5 years, Turkana was able to move from being measured at this level in terms of the poverty index, to this other level in the poverty index. So I'm throwing a challenge to our secretariat, particularly the budget policy offices, to assist us to come up with a tool that can demonstrate the value of the equalization fund. Madam Speaker, I don't know whether we have resolved, and we need to resolve. This fund was supposed to exist for only 20 years. Now that we have started implementing it, that 20 years, I guess, was contemplated from the time we operationalized the Constitution 2010. We need to have a deliberate pronouncement as Parliament on when this fund will come to a close. And again, Madam Speaker, my view would be one of the determinants of whether this fund should close or not should be a determination that we have achieved what the fund hoped to achieve. And that's why, in my view, we must measure very deliberately how this fund is moving us in development, particularly moving the marginalized areas in development in the 20 years where the fund is supposed to be. Madam Speaker, should it happen, or should we be able to demonstrate the value that this fund has brought about, Madam Speaker, we might even be able, whatever Parliament will be there, might be able to even determine the need to increase it. There's nothing wrong in determining that we can actually take a portion of the national revenue and continue to deploy it towards areas that need to be brought up in order to participate in the development agenda of this country on an equal basis with the others. So as I finalize, I will not speak to the detail of what is there, but Madam Speaker, I find it curious that a county would be given only 31 million Kenya shillings, 29 million Kenya shillings. I don't know what 29 million Kenya shillings will do in terms of real change from marginalization coming up. I fall in the school of thought that felt maybe we should have just picked a few counties, give them adequate funds to bring their infrastructure to a particular level, and then we move to the next and do the same. But if we did so, we must be able to say, in batch 1, we are going to have the following 10 counties. In the next batch, we are going to have the following 20 counties, and so on. So, Madam Speaker, I think for those who are appropriating or who appropriated these funds, I am disturbed at the figure of 29 million. I think it is money, but I don't know how 21 million would truthfully assist the areas that are truly marginalized. And I'd like to demonstrate in one way. If you are going to build a school in the far-flung place of Turkana, for that school to be functional, It requires the physical infrastructure, it requires teachers, it requires security, it requires water, it requires energy, it requires a health facility to be there to support that group. So if you give them 29 million, how much can they achieve? It means if they were going to use the equalization funds to fast-track facilities that can get children going to school, we will be waiting every year so that a building is done and it lies fallow as we wait for next year's funds to come to do the water, and then we wait for the next year to come. But if we gave them enough funds to build a school, put water, do the road infrastructure around that school, do a health facility, then you can immediately, you'll have done what this fund was intended to do, to fast track the bringing of those regions to a level where the others are. So I would want to urge us as leaders not to be fixated with tearing the little monies that are there so that you say every county must get a little bit of it. We need to be able to divide these funds in such a way that we can, in 2 years, demonstrate that by deploying so much funds in Turkana and Tana River, we have brought real change to the lives of children, to the lives of women, to the lives of men, to the lives of communities in those far-flung places. So I'd like to ask our finance committee to think through the ideology behind equalization fund and to be innovative enough to help us to ensure that the deployment of this fund truly does what it is supposed to do, to fast-track that development. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Mundigi Alexander.
Asante Mbi Speaker kwa kunipa ruhusa niweze kuchangia pesa ambazo mjadala inaendelea ya marginalized communities ama groups ama county. Mbi Speaker, yangu ni kuongea kwa kamati ya finance. Ile kazi walifanya kazi ambaye ni ya huzuni katika county zingine, kwa sababu Mbi Speaker, katika Kenya tuko county 47, na wakati tuko hapa sisi hakuna seneta mkubwa na hakuna seneta mdogo, hakuna county kubwa na hakuna county ndogo, kwa sababu sisi ikifika mambo ya keki ya Kenya mzima, Mbi Speaker, kila mtu anavaa serikali. Mbi Speaker, nakumbuka wiki jana tulikuwa napitisha mambo ya budget ya pesa ambacho sitaenda katika masinani ya county 47. Na Mbi Speaker, wakati ingine unakuta makaratasi hii kamati ya finance inatuletea tuweze kupitisha, na saa ingine unakuta hiyo kitu Mbi Speaker haiwezi kutuelekea na njia ile inafaa, kwa sababu Mbi Speaker italeta mgawanyiko katika county zingine na katika sisi maseneta, kwa sababu Mbi Speaker ni mambo ya ajabu. Pesa kama imekuja katika Kenya, hakuna county yoyote haiwezi kupata hizi pesa. Tumeona county zingine Mbi Speaker inapata karibu bilioni 1, zingine milioni 50, zingine milioni 20. Mbi Speaker, kumaanisha na hizi pesa marginalized community inafaa kila county ipate, na nasindwa au kama Mbi Speaker, kama county ya Embu haipati pesa, unakuta county ya Kitui inapata pesa, county ya Meru inapata pesa, county ambacho sile siko pale hata Tharaka-Nithi inapata pesa Mbi Speaker. Na mambo ya ajabu katika Embu County, tuko na sub county 4. Katika moja Mbi Speaker ni sub county ya Mbere South, ambaye unakuta hii pesa ni ya kwenda kuongezea mambo ya budget ambaye inaenda masinani na governor Mbi Speaker. Na katika Mbere South unakuta kuna watu ambaye wanaenda kilomita kama 20, wengine kilomita 50 Mbi Speaker. Hakuna magari kwa sababu barabara isimeharibika, hakuna maji Mbi Speaker, na kubuka hata hata leo asubuhi kulikuwa na waziri wa maji ambaye nilikuwa nauliza Mr. Speaker, Embu County itaangaliwa namna gani juu ya mabao ya maji kama Tharaka Nithi na Meru na Tharaka Nithi, ile mabao tatu ambaye moja iko Embu, moja iko Manyata na hiyo nyingine iko Mbereno na nyingine iko Runyenje. Mr. Speaker, kama tulikuwa nauliza vile tutapata maji, njia ya kilimo yetu ambaye ni mguka na mambo sile singine Mr. Speaker, na budget inakuja hapa Mr. Speaker, unakuta leo hakuna sisi kwa hii karatasi, hakuna kitu ambaye Mr. Speaker Embu tumepata. Na kumbuka Mr. Speaker, mwaka jana Embu County kwa hizi pesa ya marginalized communities hata hizi hatukupata. Unakuta mambo ya agriculture inaenda chini kwa sababu ya kukosa maji, mambo ya parapara pia, hata mambo ya mahospitali ni shinda, hata unakuta mambo ya shule ni shinda Mr. Speaker. Ni mambo ya kuhusunisha sana, kwa sababu nataka niseme Mr. Speaker, ile mambo inafanyika na wale watu wanafanya kazi ya mgao ya pesa kama hizi Mr. Speaker, nasema avuatii njia ile inavaa Mr. Speaker. Mambo ingine ni Mbeere South na Mbeere North, unakuta sehemu zingine unakuta kuna shida nyingi sana. Janga la njaa ikikuja huwa inafuata ile laini, inafuata Mbeere South na inafuata Mbeere North, na hizi pesa inavaa iende isaidie wale watu waweze kuisaidia Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ningesema kwa kamati ya fedha, vile imevaa hizi pesa ni njia aieleweki, ni njia iko na kipendeleo, ni njia ambaye iko na mrengo ambaye haieleweki. Mr. Speaker, naona vile wamefanya kitu ambaye ni ya kuhusunisha kama Embu haiko kwa hii mgao ya hizi pesa. Mr. Speaker, nakumbuka mwaka jana hata mimi sikupitisha, hata nataka niseme Mr. Speaker, kama hii kamati haitafanya ile inafaa itimuliwe na ifunjwe wakati ile mwingine, ndio tuweze kupata Mr. Speaker ile kamati ambayo itasaidia kaunti zote, kwa sababu pesa kama inakuja, kama ni msaada kutoka nje ya ng'ambo, kama ni sisi tunalipa pesa, ni afadhali Mr. Speaker ukute pesa kila county ipate pesa kulingana na vile inafaa, kwa sababu hata inafaa iangalie county nyingi ambaye marginalized counties sisi sipata budget kubwa kwa ile pesa ambayo inafaa iende kwa counties, kama singine sitaki kusitanja imepata pesa nyingi, na wakati sisi tumeenda kuangalia mambo ya oversight Mr. Speaker, unakuta county zingine hakuna kitu inafanya, na sile county inajaribu kutoka chini mpaka juu, unakuta haipatiwi pesa kulingana inafaa. Kwa Mr. Speaker, nataka niseme katika Embu County ni mambo ya kuhusunisha sana, na mambo singine Mr. Speaker, utakuta mijadala itakuwa kuja katika nyumba hii na tutakuwa na pinga, kwa sababu itakuwa inaleta shinda hata mambo ya vyama ama mambo mingi. Kwa hiyo Mr. Speaker, vitu kama hizi inakuja ni vitu ya kufanya watu wakosane, kwa sababu hata nakumbuka mwaka jana wakati nilisema sitaunga mkono, tuliambiwa tuandike barua tuweze kupeleka kwa wale watu wanaangalia vile pesa mgao ya pesa inafanyika. Na Mr. Speaker, nikaongea na governor na akaandika kila kitu, na mambo ya ajabu siku ya leo Embu County haiko kwa hii kikaratasi tu, iko county 40 na ine siri zimepata pesa, na Mr. Speaker Embu County haiko hapa. Kwa hiyo Mr. Speaker, ningeomba wakati ule mwingine Embu iweze kuangaliwa. Na Mr. Speaker, nikimalizia mimi nasema Mr. Speaker, hata kama ni nani atakuja kuniambia niweze kuunga hii wakati tutaenda kuweka kura, nasema Mr. Speaker, hii nitapinga. Kwa hiyo Mr. Speaker, napinga na sina maneno mingi. Ni mimi Senator wa Embu County, Senator Alexander Munyi Mundigi. Asante Mr. Speaker.
Thank you Senator Mundigi. Senator Beatrice Akinyi Ogon.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this bill referred to as the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill 2025. And from the onset, Madam Speaker, I want to request my colleague Senator Mundigi that when the time comes, he should rethink and support this bill. Madam Speaker, I want to request him because in this country, there is a key tenet that everybody looks forward to, the issue of equity. And this bill, Madam Speaker, with the monies that have been spelled out, will find that services will be granted to counties that would have otherwise been disadvantaged with the little funds that they receive, Madam Speaker. And I want to tell Senator Mundigi that it is only a very unwise person that would not change their minds. So when the time comes, with the wisdom I see in you, Daktari, consider changing your mind to support this bill. And so, Madam Speaker, I support this bill. Madam Speaker, our people need critical services that have been spelled out in this bill. The services of water, the services of roads, the services of health, and the services of electricity, Madam Speaker. Those are public services that each Kenyan needs to be sure that they will be provided with. But it is because of the limitations, Madam Speaker, and it is because of the marginalized areas, some of the marginalized areas we have in this country, that they are not able to get these services. And so if in our wisdom, we see that certain counties need to be given an extra coin just to ensure that there will be equity in terms of services that the people need, then, Madam Speaker, I support this bill. Madam Speaker, the critical services of water. Water is so critical, Madam Speaker. It is a basic need, and every Kenyan really requires to have water within some small radius, Madam Speaker. Even the issue of roads. Madam Speaker, I'm happy, and I want to support this. There is 16 billion that has been set aside to be distributed, and of course, it could not have been distributed equally because these areas have different parameters. But, Madam Speaker, I'm happy Homa Bay County has 214 million, 965 shillings. Madam Speaker, this may look small money, and even a number of speakers have said the monies we have here, 16 billion, is a little money. But, Madam Speaker, it is better to start with something small so that our people can see the beginning of the provision of these services. In Homa Bay County, Madam Speaker, the criteria goes ahead to give 4 sub-counties some little money to share from the 214. We have Homa Bay Town constituency being given 10 million. Suba North constituency has 29 million, only Boni Halwale. And Boni should stop to listen that Ndewa constituency, which is my constituency, which is a marginalized constituency, we should be considered as a hardship constituency. Boni we have, Ndewa has black cotton soil, Madam Speaker, and we have no roads, Madam Speaker. And that is why I'm delighted that from the 214 million, Ndewa constituency has been granted some 120 million, Madam Speaker. I therefore want to support, but to go ahead to say that this money, when it gets there, it must be ring-fenced for the purpose of which it has been granted, Madam Speaker. In Homa Bay, Suba North has 53 million, and as I've said, Suba South has 53 million, Suba North 29, and Ndewa, which is my constituency, is 120 million. Madam Speaker, I do not support it just because it is my constituency, but I support it because of the difficulties that our people have. Right now, there are rains in Ndewa constituency. You can hardly get a road other than the tarmac road that we used to move from Rodi, that is in Homa Bay Town constituency, to Sori, Madam Speaker. Any other road beyond that tarmac road is not motorable as I speak to you, Madam Speaker. Only last week I was at home, and Madam Speaker, even a road that we used to move from the sub-county, from the constituency headquarters, next to the CDF offices, that traverses my ward, Madam Speaker, you can hardly move in it. So it has made our people's life to be miserable, Madam Speaker. Transport is expensive, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just months ago, in a place where our local people, you'd use a motorbike for 50 shillings, Madam Speaker, and that is not a very far area. Madam Speaker, today, all our people are required to It costs our people 300 to 500 shillings to just move in a very short distance. And Madam Speaker, it then means that even the cost of doing business for our people is so high. Madam Speaker, where I come from, a majority of people do subsistence farming. People who grow some vegetables and transport it to the markets, some tomatoes and transport it to the markets, some maize, some groundnuts, some beans, Madam